Well, I'm glad you've stopped yourself there because we've got breaking news. Big breaking news. We're actually skipping one of our subjects to go to the subject we were going to end on. After a historic 19-year season run in Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin just informed his team he's stepping down as head coach. As per Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport also has just reported, he is stepping down as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. So Mike Tomlin, 19 seasons. The Steelers were going to be our last topic, and we were going to probably talk about what is the future for Mike Tomlin and this Pittsburgh Steelers team. It has been decided by Mike Tomlin. I'm going to straight out say it. I'm going to straight come out and say it straight away. I said weeks ago, probably near the start of the season, that I don't think this happens where he gets fired. It's not public. That what will happen is the exact same thing that will happen. What happened with Bill Belichick in New England? There'll be a word in an office, in a room somewhere in Pittsburgh, where they go, "We're never going to fire you, but thank you. You need to go." And he's going to go. And you know, I didn't even realize he's 52, 53. I heard on a podcast earlier. He's got a lot of time left in terms of like a head coaching time. But the change has been needed. This is a welcome change. And firstly, thank you, Mike Tomlin, for all his years of service to Pittsburgh Steelers, the Super Bowls, the amazing seasons that the Steelers have had. But I think we all know and felt that this is the right thing to happen.
Yeah, I'm actually glad for you in the way of like sometimes you've got to rip the Band-Aid off. And what the Ravens had. I was texting two mates of mine in the US last night, and they were like, no, Tomlin will probably stay, which is interesting because I know we'll come on to it, but they're Packers fans who don't want LaFleur. But I think on this side of the pond, it's a bit more positive, Matt LaFleur. But yeah, Steelers in the US, because of, you know, Mike Tomlin, what he's done, it did get a bit Bill Belichick to the point of, oh, well, he can just go when he wants to go. But given what's just happened with Harbaugh, given the fact that the Bengals have kept all of their coaching staff stupidly, and the Browns are the Browns, it's the perfect time for the Steelers to reset in their own way and, you know, maximize. Because, look, I know the scoreline, what you read out, Fred. I watched all of it last night. Steelers defense played amazing the first three quarters.
I listened to a podcast earlier that was incredibly derogatory about how the Steelers played. And I was like, dude, you watched the fourth quarter. Like, I thought it was quite a valiant. We did not look like we were going to win at all.
No, but the defense was
it looked exactly like I thought it was going to be. Completely scrappy, horrible to watch, not that fun for either team. But the story of the game, I said this to you guys on the text. The story of the game was you can't have 3+ turnovers and come away with 3 points. You can't. Yeah. You can't do that. You can't come away with a field goal after 3 turnovers against this Houston team. No way. The defense is too good. And yeah, I think their offense looked a bit jaunty and a bit crazy last night. Didn't look quite right. But they will bounce back and they will look good. They had 2 turnovers. Yes, one of the turnovers was in the last minute and they got the touchdown. But ultimately, they got 2 turnovers and they got 2 touchdowns. You know, you've got to play better than that. I mean, Adam, this is going to be now, what, the 4th coach since 1969. Only 3 coaches before that, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, after he joined in 2007. 19 seasons, like I said. Taken to the playoffs 13 times, but hasn't been past the divisional round since 2016. And since 2017 has only been over 10 wins twice. We're accustomed to it being the 9-8, 10-7 Pittsburgh Steelers. What does this change signify to you?
I think to a certain extent, it might be like what Sky says, that there's an opportunity here. And that the division is not great. And they've all, to a certain extent, they've all kind of struggled a little bit this year. And now you've got 3 of the teams looking for new head coaches. But yeah, I don't know. It's surprising. I just never thought he'd do it. I think that's what it is more than anything else. I just never thought he'd actually give it up.
But you definitely did say after the Harbaugh thing, you were like, if it was ever going to happen, now's the time, because Harbaugh's got
it kind of made sense.
A big franchise is established. You can do it. You know.
Yeah, it's almost like, in a weird kind of way, it's like you've got a 3-year. For whoever comes in, because it is like, you know, the Ravens are doing the same thing and the Browns are doing the same things. And I know that Bengals aren't. But as we've said, we haven't exactly been complimentary about Zach Taylor over the course of the last couple of years, and don't really feel like him being there is going to help them. So it kind of feels like it is an opportunity to reset and maybe take a year. I personally, I think this probably means that Aaron Rodgers won't be coming back. This feels very like we're going to start again.
Yeah.
There's a slight difference because I'm going to sound incredibly hypocritical because I'm going to say this now and then I'll say something later. I think this is the right move for the Steelers just purely because he's been there for so long and it hasn't really happened in respect of like the last sort of 10 years or since the Super Bowl win. It hasn't really happened. I think a change was needed. The reason I'm going to sound hypocritical is because when we talk about the Packers, I will say the complete opposite. But
tenure is different. The tenure,
exactly. That's what I mean, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I don't know if you can find a head coach who is going to automatically take you over the top and get you playoff wins, but I think you could maybe get a head coach who has the potential to do that in time.
Does this now become instantly the most desirable job?
No.
Your choice of whatever quarterback you want.
Yeah. What's draft capital like?
You could clear out, restock your draft capital.
They're fine for draft capital, but there's no where the Steelers are, you're not getting a quarterback.
If you do a year, I'm not saying get your quarterback sorted this year. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if you brought a coaching when you've got 3 years to make us look like we're going in a direction, I think it's an interesting.
To be fair, Fred, sorry, I know me and Adam both said no then. I think we probably said no more in terms of like the roster, but actually in terms of the franchise, it is probably the most desirable in that you'll be given time. There will be a very thorough, exactly. You'll be given time. Whereas, you go to Atlanta, all right, there's plenty of playmakers. So like Mike McDaniel goes there, but if it don't work, it might be gone within a year or 2 years. Whereas in Pittsburgh, there'll be a very thorough process because of tradition. Kind of the same even with the Ravens. People have talked about that. That will be time as well. So
I think though I've critiqued our organization last few years, saying we're close to the Jets than people make out, we are a stable organization. The Baltimore Ravens are a stable organization. Yeah. The New York Giants is desirable. Yes, it's not a stable organization by no means. It's not that stable. And again, like you said, Atlanta, I can understand why someone would want to go to Atlanta, but it's not that stable. And now, what do you think, Sky, is because we saw this with Sean Payton? He removed himself from New Orleans. Again, might have been a quiet conversation, or always saw the writing on the wall and went, "I'll get out quick." As a year out, comes back with Denver, been fantastic, had his choice of job to go to, and was always going to get that. Tomlin now walks away from this. Do you see him going straight into a head coaching role? Do you see him doing telly? Do you see him just disappearing for a year?
I can see him taking a bit of time, because I think Sean Payton was different in the sense that the Saints were always contending with Drew Brees. And we always know that Sean Payton obviously will pick his team because of how he is with quarterbacks, and upskilling their game. But I think for Mike Tomlin, I don't want to go as far as to say his reputation is damaged. But obviously, like when you ruled off the fact that there's not been many 10-win seasons, and last playoff run you guys had, I remember it was an AFC Championship game where Patriots won convincingly. I think he's desirable in that he obviously has done a lot in the game and there's a lot of respect. But I think also there probably needs to be a year or two of reassessment and then pick the right job. I think especially with the way that you exit the playoffs, you probably need to take a step back and see what he wants as well. Like you said, he might want a year out. Or Vrabel, people thought he'd walk into a job, and then he was consulting on. I was going to say the Browns. He was consulting.
It was the Browns.
On the Browns.
It was the Browns.
So maybe Tomlin will do that. Go have a different perspective at another franchise, and then come back and get a head coaching job in a year.
What about you, Adam?
I think if he wants a job, he can get it.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll have that problem. You've got teams like the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Titans. I think they'd all love to have someone like Tomlin in there. In the same way,
would he go to them though?
well, this is what I mean. If he wants it, then it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been there a long time, 19 years with no break at all. It does feel like a year out kind of makes the most sense, and maybe come back when there's some potentially there might be some teams in slightly better situations than these teams that are there. So that kind of feels like the obvious. But if he wants it, I don't think he'd have a problem.
Because I sort of this is a bit like funny, but there's this old like sort of wrestling thing where like sometimes when you just are not, people are just not getting it anymore and not loving you and it's just became boring and stale. You just need to go away. Like you just need to be forgotten about completely. Yeah. And that's when the wrestler returns a year later. He comes out and all the crowd goes absolutely potty because they've not seen him in a year. Oh my God, he's back. What's he going to do? What's this? And it's sort of a little bit, I feel the same with Tom. He needs to go away to get that stink off of him of, okay, yeah, you've never had a losing season, but you've not really had very good seasons the last 10 years. You know, the offense has been stagnant. You couldn't get the quarterback right. There was no planning. There was a strewn of players who came through there. Yes, he's known as a great player manager, but we had massive player problems. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, players like that. He sort of does need to get, I think, go away. Don't go on telly even. Just be completely forgotten about a little bit. Just reset yourself. Keep your finger on the pulse. Keep your finger on the pulse within the NFL. And because let's face it, we know there is a whole echelon of things that happen behind closed doors in the NFL that we have no idea about. So keep your finger on the pulse of all the people you know in these teams. And like you said, Adam, 2026 might not be a great draft class. You come back in 2027 with a jar full of picks and a team that you're enjoying and maybe some good structure. You go into the 2027 draft going, you could go into the 27 draft at Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow. Like that, I'm not even taking the mick with that. That could be a thing. You know, there's going to be head coaches going into next season, but they're sort of on the hot seat now. We said it about Tomlin this year. I don't think we said it about Harbaugh at all with Baltimore, but we said there were some of these guys that are on good teams that are going to have coaches on the hot seat. So yeah, I mean, as a Steeler fan, it's going to be a very interesting few. My off season has now become very interesting when I thought it was going to be incredibly dull. So, well, I say incredibly dull as in dull in terms of my own team. Obviously, the NFL will never be dull.